All right, thank you.
Mayor, I started the live streaming. Obviously, you don't have to start till 6 o'clock. So I just want
Okay.
to let you know that.
Rita, did Roger tell you whether he's going to be here or not?
He did not tell me.
Because I know he's away today, working out of town, not away. He's working out of town.
Nope. Hasn't said anything.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, David.
Hi, David.
Dave.
Hi. Mayor, that was a great show Saturday night.
That was nice, wasn't it? It was really good. Thanks.
Yeah, it was really, really terrific.
Yeah, it was glad you could make it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't have missed it.
Sandy's not on either. Is Sandy
No,
in town?
I talked to her a little bit ago.
Mayor, there's a Roger as an attendee. I'm not sure if it's Roger Ruggles because it just has his first name.
Oh, I don't know. Might want to check. 'Cause he may be on his cell phone. Oh, he's off now. If the R under the attendees for Roger, if it's Roger, Councilmember Ruggles, raise your hand. Oh, you probably can't even do that. Yes, he did. It's Dr. Ruggles. So we're gonna let you in there, Roger.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I don't know. I'm not getting video for some reason.
Are you Rod? Who are you?
I'm home.
Oh, you're home already. Okay. All right. Well, we're only going to give the presentation. So there's nothing else on the agenda except I'm going to start in a few minutes. In 2 minutes, I'm going to start, and we're going to then open up for public comment if there is any, and then we're going to adjourn the meeting.
What can you do? I got it now. He did something.
What did you say?
Nothing. I think I got my video now.
Okay. Your sound is a little rough.
Yeah.
There's your video. Hi, Pastor.
Good job, Sue.
Yep.
Okay, the only one we're waiting for is Councilmember Volcano. Right?
And Kenny's not on now. Oh, yes, he is. I'm
Still
sorry.
there. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yep, Sandy.
5, 6. Yeah, it's just Sandy. Maybe I should call. I'm going to text her. Maybe she.
I got 600 miles in today, Sal.
Oh, that's terrible. That's amazing. And you're back already.
I left at 3:30.
I have GEDP tomorrow morning.
You love the drive, I'm Raj.
Yep.
I'll see if Sandy's getting on. I just texted her.
Mayor, I talked to her earlier too. She called me and confirmed she received the email.
Yeah, I don't know. As I said, I talked to her about an hour ago. She must be having technical difficulties. Well, we're going to start. It's 6:01. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Brown,
Here.
Mr. Ettinger? Mr. Ettinger? He's muted. He's muted. I know he's on though.
Yeah.
Mr. Milan? Also muted. Mr. O'Connell?
I'm here.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Mrs. Volcano? Mayor Panto?
Here. Thank you. If
Mayor,
Sandy-
Sandy, I'm allowing her right now. I'm
Okay.
putting her in.
Great.
We're all
Okay.
mute.
Rita, you want to note that
I
Councilmember
did.
Volcano is present?
I did.
Okay, I'd like to welcome you to this virtual presentation of my proposed budget for 2021. We are not having public comment in the beginning because this is the only agenda item, but we will have comments from the public if you wish to speak at the end of the meeting. Hopefully, this is the last time it'll be delivered virtually. I want to thank City Council members for our opportunity this evening to give an overview of our proposed 2021 budget. As we gather each year, we discuss the most important policy document in government, our budget. It's the annual budget that converts our values into investments, our goals into plans, and our dreams into realities. The charter of the City of Easton requires the mayor to present their budget on October 1st of the previous year. This is an early date in normal times, and this evening it's even more difficult given the current situation in our economy and our country. This message comes amid a time of great change as our country faces a new normal in the wake of COVID-19, racial inequality, and the recent flooding along the Bushkill Creek. Fortunately, we're not dealing with some of those environmental issues like hurricanes and fires like the South and the West. I'm very proud to have been born, raised, and live in the city of Easton. The vast majority of our residents always come together to fight injustice and racial inequality. Our collective resilience and commitment to help each other will carry us through these difficult times as we focus on critical steps to become a more equitable future. Our city benefits from bringing people together, citizens from our diverse backgrounds, regardless of race, ethnicity, age, religion, gender, and economic status, with the purpose of healing, learning, and building relationships and growing together. Our diversity in Easton is our strength. The soul of our city is deeply rooted in a history that has evolved over thousands of years, rooted in a diverse people who have been here together every step of the way. To that end, there will be funds appropriated this year to provide for the historic markers that Councilman Ruggles, Volcano, and Brown are working with to support the effort of letting all of our people know who came before us, regardless of race, color, or creed. Our view of the future seemed a bit more in question, but we truly exemplify the phrase e pluribus unum. Out of many, we are one. And it's an understatement to say that we live in unprecedented times, but that is truly where we are at this moment. Years from now, when we reflect on 2020, the pandemic that created by COVID-19, it will be remembered as the moment norms were shattered, the economy stalled at a level not seen since the Great Depression, and our view of the future seemed a bit more in question. In Easton, we have responded to the call. Our administration moved quickly to take steps to protect our residents and employees from the impact of this pandemic. We partnered with others to provide relief for small businesses, displaced workers, and those that may be affected by evictions. We stood as a committed partner in our national call for social justice. We had several of our own protests here in the city, all very peaceful, based on a history of working together. As Easton has led during these critical times, we've also found ourselves in a very similar situation as cities across this state and this nation. The National League of Cities estimates the economic impact of the pandemic has created a $360 billion shortfall for cities through 2022. Our outlook is directly connected to a crisis that currently has no defined end. A survey by more than 2,100 cities by the National League of Cities and U.S. Conference Mayors finds that 70% of the cities are preparing to cut critical public services. We drastically cut our operating budget, as you well know. We've installed capital improvement projects. We needed to furlough 81 employees, but we always maintain our level of public safety. We are meeting and collaborating remotely, making daily uses of video conferences, screen sharing, and conference call. Zoom, Skype, and Teams have been added to our vocabulary daily. While these methods remove some of the personal interaction and opportunities for spontaneous conversation, staff have nonetheless, and our employees, displayed impressive problem solving in furthering the city's business. We've never stopped working for Easton. As we work over the next 2 months to develop this budget, I hope you'll join me and express our thanks to the outstanding people of our city government, from frontline employees to department heads who labor diligently every day to keep Easton not only functioning, but thriving. I want to thank all the community members as well who participate in our authorities, boards, and commissions and keep meeting during this pandemic to further our city goals and objectives. These are unprecedented times. Our city has not been immune to the global economic impact of the COVID-19 health pandemic. However, thanks to smart planning during previous years, we have been able to mitigate many of those impacts, keep fees stable for our residents, and still maintain healthy fund balances for any other unforeseen circumstances, such as we are experiencing. In 2008 and 2020, it poured. We could have dipped into our reserves, but chose not to do that. But we didn't tap those reserves, but it's nice to know that there will be there if needed, should our country and our city find ourselves closing down our economy again for another round of COVID-19. And let's hopefully that's not the case. We have kept council members informed. The The subtitle on my budget this year, as I always give it a subtitle, is a work in progress. We will be working with you in our city finances over the next 2 months. Easton has seen a steep decline in revenue during this pandemic, particularly from employment taxes, amusement taxes, casino revenue, and parking fees, with so many closed for 3.5 months and some still closed. Mandated closures to stop the spread of COVID-19 have led to an increase in unemployment filings as small business still struggle to stay afloat. While we still navigate many unknowns, one thing is absolutely clear. The pandemic continues to have a devastating impact on city finances and may do so through the next 2 years. Undoubtedly, we have a fiscal mountain to overcome. COVID-19 has caused the city to lose approximately $5.5 million in revenue this year and has created a huge hole in next year's budget. Add to that a $1 million increase in our mandatory municipal obligation for our pensions and more than $500,000 in trash contracts, and this budget was never looking good. Fortunately, most of our city councils approved a financing plan that was recommended by our financial advisors. For the one council member who chose to vote against the refinancing plan, I'm going to be very interested in hearing how you will propose balancing the budget for this year and next year. This year's gap would have been $2.3 million, and next year's hole would be more than $1.6 million. You cannot vote against something that may seem politically popular without offering a solution to the financial crisis that has been contributed to by COVID-19. If we didn't have this budget would be about $3 million apart. And that represents about 10 mils of taxes. So you can see where I'm going with that. Prior to COVID-19, Easton has experienced unprecedented growth over the past decade and enormous economic gains. However, like all communities, Easton is facing a mix of knowns and unknowns. From a fiscal planning perspective, we know that global economies are in flux, and we are headed towards a significant economic contraction at the state, local, and federal levels. Pennsylvania alone is facing a $4 to $5 billion shortfall for next year in this year's budget. Easton is well positioned to confront this uncertainty, but not immune from its effects. Conversely, we do not know how long the immediate public health measures will remain in place, how long it will take the local and national economy to rebound, and how state governments and the federal government will react to the new fiscal realities. But our commitment to growing our fund balance and historic low interest rates has positioned us in a way that we can present our 2021 budget without any drastic increases that were originally anticipated. Even with budget shortfalls, our administration worked to provide residents and businesses the financial relief they needed and took place in the shape of tax deferments, delayed business licensing fees, free daily parking, cancellation of all penalties and interest on late utility bills, and others, as you are well aware because you approved it also. These fiscal decisions were a benefit to hard-hit COVID-related local businesses and residents, but they have financial consequences for budgets and our financial resources. With very little support from the federal government, we had to make tough decisions and strain our fiscal resources even further. While it is true that the city received CARES money from the federal government through the county of Northampton, and we're very grateful for those funds are only for direct COVID-related expenses. They are not for gaps in our revenue caused by COVID. Even the money that we thought we were going to get and receive for police and fire this past Tuesday, we found out that they would not be acceptable, even though our police and fire were working directly during this COVID-related shutdown. The National League of Cities and the U.S. Conference of Mayors have been calling on Washington to help all cities of all sizes with federal aid to supplant our revenue shortfalls, but to date, the federal government's silence has been deafening, and I'm not hopeful. However, just today, I sent a letter to Representative Pelosi and Senator McConnell. There is a bill working through before the election, before they break for election, that does have a stimulus plan with it. We're hoping that we can be part of it. The House has approved the bill that would make direct aid to cities available, local governments, not just cities, local governments available on a modified formula of the CDBG formula. But again, our friends in the Senate Republicans, senators are not real encouraged to support it. So I think we're going to have a problem. And my budget is being presented tonight. Hopefully, as I say, this is a work in progress. If some money comes to the city, maybe we can forego the things that are necessary. There's one last chance with Congress debating it this week. So if you have any time, put a call into them. Don't bother calling Senator Casey. He's been very strong. Congressman Wild has been very strong. Both of them are supporting direct federal aid to local government. As we look forward to the new year and how to manage the city's priorities, we're facing significant reductions in several key revenue streams, increases in selected expenses, and concerns for the long-term effects on property tax revenue, intergovernment revenue, and development fees. Almost every revenue source is affected by the shutdown of nearly every aspect of the economic activity within our community. The good news is that our economic development success next year, we will see another increase in our taxable properties. We've had an increase in our taxable properties every year based on a real solid economic development program. However, as you know, our real estate taxes do not even cover the cost of our public safety, namely our police and fire departments. And there's a graph when you'll get if you look at it, there's graphs that I'm not referring to at this time, but there's graphs in there to help you visualize it. A strong economy, a growing diverse population, a cultural and social basis are all necessary to maintain and continue to improve our strength in this city. The 2021 budget is a key process and agenda settling statement of the creative and innovative efforts needed to secure Easton's future as a quality place to live, work, and raise our families. The budget allows us to continue to follow through on the clean and safe commitments to the residents of business. The 2021 budget will continue to be a year of construction, expanding our tax base, including the mill at Easton with 55 affordable housing units, the Seville, Hearst Publishing, the Townley Micro Hotel, our parking garage, and more. Our public investment will continue primarily through grants in the capital fund. There's a long list in here of all the things that we plan on doing next year, and all of them will be involved with grants, not local taxpayers' money. From the design of Center Square to the pedestrian bridge over the Lehigh River connecting us to the towpath, the D&L Trail, to a study of the feasibility of traffic calming and bike lanes from South Side, the southern border of the city to downtown. There's so many things on here that you can see. I'm not going to take time to read all of them. Certainly our purchase of the Easton Iron and Metal property will be developed next year. So we're looking forward to a very good year of public improvement and private investment. Unfortunately, the revenues that come from our economy will not be there. As this budget was prepared, the community faced the challenges of curbing the spread of coronavirus, but we are hopeful for our future because Easton's economy was quite strong before the pandemic, and we're doing everything we can to get it back to where it was and even better. We look forward to next year as we're going to ask our champion, Larry Holmes, to knock out 2020. My personal goal is to continue to provide strong leadership for our city at the local, state, and federal levels and provide the direction and support for our directors, supervisors, and employees of the city by creating an environment that empowers them to do their best, as they're doing right now. I will always work hard to encourage a culture of continuous improvement that results in the best possible service for Easton residents. Suffice it to say that our employees, volunteers, partners, and city council leadership are performing such great work that has moved our city forward. Easton is a better place to live because of all of you. This budget reflects our administrative team's commitment to maintaining a high level of public services at a rate that our residents can understand and afford, a rate that's stable and not ever increasing. The future of the city of Easton is exciting, challenging, and filled with opportunity. I firmly believe that we can continue to meet the needs of our community while maintaining an efficient, cost-effective city government. But that means there's going to be changes. I appreciate the city council review and ultimate approval of this budget. It's truly a work in progress. It has changed every day since September 1st, when the budget was presented to me by Mr. Campos, He, Mr. Lizanicki, and myself have met almost every day on changes, whether they be revenue changes or expense changes. There aren't many highlights to identify in next year's budget. There's a graph that indicates our proposed budget is less than the 2018, 2019, and 2020 budgets by more than $2 million. It's anticipated that in our budget for next year, which is a lot lower than last year, it's primarily due to our revised budget in the area of admissions, tax, casino, and parking revenues. All will be coming down. Plus, we have to look at the unemployment rate. We are projecting a 2% decrease in the earned income tax, but that represents approximately a 5 to 6% decrease because we normally experience a 3% inflationary increase. However, building permits are still budgeted at $28,000 less than last year in anticipation of some of these projects being delayed to 2022. For budgetary purposes, we are maintaining revenue from parking meters to be the same as we proposed in 2020. The same holds true for most of the other line items affected this year. Given the aggressive housing market in our area, we are proposing to keep line items associated with the real estate market level for 2021. Trash fees and sewer fees are budgeted at 2.3% decrease for sewer and level for trash, as this budget proposes no increase in either service to our residents. Unemployment in the city has not seen a significant increase as of today. We started the year really good at about 6.9%. And as of today, the current rate of unemployment is 18% in the city. We may hear that it's coming down, and we may know that it's definitely coming down in the Lehigh Valley to maybe as low as 10%. The fact of the matter, though, these are percentage rates for Easton City, not for the region. And there's a graph in there that shows the historical data and how low it was all the way up until March, the end of March 2020. The most significant part of the revenue side of the budget is the impact of the financial advisor's recommendation, what may be known as a scoop and toss or scoop and throw. This refinancing of our debt at a lower interest rate and a longer term will save the city $2.6 million this year and another $1.3 million next year. Our debt service payments for next year will be $1 million less than they are this year. My recommendation, as laid out in this budget, is to only use half of the savings for next year so that we carry that savings also over, 50% of that savings over to the 2022 budget, because by all practical experts that are telling us the economy is going to struggle not only next year again, but 2022 as well. So we're putting some money aside in our rainy day fund so that in 2022, for example, if we put all the $1.3 million all in next year, we would have a $2.6 million gap in 2022 because you don't have $1.3 million again, and you have the $1.3 million in expenses. That's a $2.6 million spread. By doing this, we're going to reduce the spread in 2022. On the expense side, there are many positions that will not be filled in 2021, many that will be put off till March or July, and there's a list of them as well. As you know, several positions have not been filled this year, and we will go till maybe as far as the middle of next year before we bring people back or bring new people on. Council will also note an overall decrease in the allocation to outside agencies. These decreases are consistent with the decrease in revenue and include allocations to groups like the Miracle League, $5,000 to $2,500, Heritage Day, $6,500 to $5,500, and the Greater Easton Development Corporation, which is being reduced by 10% or $30,000, $300,000 to $270,000. Travel, meetings, training, they've all been reduced. Legal fees in human resources is considerably higher as we anticipate possible arbitration. Neighborhood reconstruction was moved $130,000 from the general fund to the highway aid fund, which is paid for by state highway liquid fuels taxes. So we're not reducing our street reconstruction project, especially with UGI ripping up all the streets throughout the city. The last thing we want to do is reduce that, but we're moving it to a capital federal, the state highway liquid fuels so that the local taxpayers won't be burdened with an increase. Neighborhood road creek, I said that. As council will recall, fire department overtime in 2019 was $1.3 million. This caused the city to incur a deficit in the year-end audit for the first time in more than a decade. But we didn't. The good news is we didn't have a deficit of $1.3 million. We were able to reduce that down to about $400,000. For next year, we are anticipating a firefighter overtime budget of $500,000. The reason is because the hiring of the 3 additional firefighters, we lowered our August year-to-date fees of overtime right now is $272,000 versus last year at this time, it was $798,000. The firefighters are doing a really good job of controlling their overtime budget. I want to thank them for that. But we've also maintained the budget of $91,000 for supplies and clothing as we have new hires that will be going to the academy when it starts and potential hiring of possible part-time firefighters. We also have several firefighters and police officers that are out of work on work-related injuries, and we do expect several retirements by the end of this year or the beginning of next year, which we're going to have to plan for. A note about life insurance line items. The premium that was accounted for in 2020 was not accounted for in its complete entirety. Some of it was charged to insurance line items. As you know, our life insurance is a benefit for city employees. So each department has a line item for life insurance. You will see that all of them have gone up several 100%, some 1,200%. And the reason is because we only booked 31,000 of the $200,000 premium to those line items. So I just want to explain that we're going to do it the right way, and working with our auditors, we're accounting for it in each individual department by the number of employees that they have. So that's the reason why you're going to see it's not really a massive increase. It has no impact, negative or positive, on the city's budget. It is what it is. The proposed budget is balanced primarily by following the advice of our financial advisors. To summarize that plan, we'll be refinancing our debt, taking advantage of the historic low interest rates, and providing for the capital for the construction of the new 4th Street garage, and still saving $2.6 million this year and $1 million in our lowering our debt service, as well as a $1.6 million in savings, which I am proposing to smooth over the 2 years, 2021 and 2022. As I said, debt payments will be reduced by $1 million next year. We are not proposing any increases in trash fees, even though our trash is going up another $500,000. I will tell you that Mr. Hopkins has done a great job in working with our contracts and our recycling contractors, because as you all know, recycling has really changed in the last 2 years, primarily due to the tariffs that have been placed on China. And so our recyclables are not going to China anymore. Much of it, if it's contaminated, as many of ours are. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep the trash rate level, but we're going to educate the public better on how they need to start recycling. We need clean recyclables. If a can is contaminated, the whole can goes into the landfill rather than being recycled. So we get to the point of where are we? With all those changes and all the cutbacks and furloughs and layoffs, the budget is still $300,000 short of being balanced. To meet this gap, if revenues don't change, which hopefully they will, we are recommending a scheduled furlough of 20 working days for approximately 80 staff members next year. Lastly, we will be reviewing our finances throughout the first and second quarter, and if revenues fall lower than we expected in our revised budget, we may have to offer additional recommendations to council, such as possibly closing the pools again next year, which would save us $100,000, or maybe eliminating all the summer employees at a savings of $40,000. So we have ideas, but the revenues are looking good now. So we're going to say that we can balance this budget with no increases, but asking city employees to do some scheduled furloughs. The proposed budget does not affect our fund balance, by more than what the amount of the deficit was last year. So our reserve funds are still strong, but we don't recommend taking the $300,000 additionally out of that. Today, I am proud of the fact that we may have reached a tentative agreement with the International Association of Firefighters, and I'd like to thank them for their cooperation and support during these difficult times. If the AFSCME union is interested in lowering or even eliminating our proposed furlough days, we are more than willing to reopen their contract and renegotiate the terms to save. Possibly they can find other ways to save us the $300,000. We are more than willing to work with them on that as well. This is a team, and the team needs to support all of us, and we need to come up with ways to support ultimately our residents. This is our proposed budget for next year. As I indicated in the beginning, it's a work in progress because our finances are changing every day. It will change several times before being adopted by council. Our current budget is like a moving goalpost. We normally base next year's revenues on historic data, but these are not normal times. We are forecasting next year's revenue through our crystal ball, and it has a crack in it, as you heard me say many times. At every budget meeting, we're going to be giving City Council the most up-to-date numbers that we can through this year. We hope that the revised budget presented to City Council earlier is conservative in estimating our revenues, and we hope that revenues acquired are more than anticipated. I will tell you that in talking, when we do our budget research, we don't just look at numbers. For example, my conversation with Shelley Brown at the State Theater, they're scheduled to open in January. However, as each day gets closer and closer to January, she thinks that may be June. I can tell you that Crayola is offering huge discounts to get people there. Right now, you can buy a pass that'll get you as many times as you want for all you grandparents out there or parents. For $24.99, you buy 1 day's entrance, and you can go as many times as you want between now and the end of the year. So these are places that, the casino, Emerald's just closed. There's no business. Yes, the casino is open, but we're not going to get 1.15 million from them next year. So we need to be anticipating that. I would like to thank City Council for taking the time to listen to my dialogue here, my sermon. It's the same old this year. But I got to tell you, I'm not pessimistic. I'm optimistic. I think our downtown businesses, our neighborhood businesses are doing really well. You know that I'm trying to put together a Christmas village to get people downtown this holiday season, because from November and December, if our retailers don't do well this year, I'm afraid many of them will close. So we have pretty good interest, and we're going to try to pull this off between now and November 13th and actually open. Our next step is to find someone to either fabricate the huts or buy them somewhere. But we're really excited. I mean, our staff meets and we talk about a lot of crazy ideas that we hope come to fruition. The Christmas Village is one. Ice skating rink in downtown Easton. Can you imagine an ice skating rink in one of the quadrants of the circle? Would be great. It would bring people downtown, give people something to do other than competitive sports. But right now, that's still way out of our league. We're trying to find sponsors for it, but it's a sizable amount of money. I can assure you of that. Otherwise, we'd have it. So this is our budget. I'm very proud of the fact that we're $2 million less than we were last year, but our gap is only $300,000 without raising any rates to our residents. And hopefully, if some help comes from our federal government, I hope we don't have to furlough anybody next year. The furloughing this year was a very difficult decision for the administration. We had employees out for 3 months, and very honestly, it did help. So I want to thank those employees who were furloughed. It helped that they did get the federal unemployment of $600 a week, but it's still out of work. It's home. It's not good. It's not good. They wanted to be back, I'm sure. So I want to thank everybody for paying attention. This does go on the docket. It rests for 15 days, according to our charter. We will pick it up. Rita has the dates for the public of the budget hearings, and we'll get into that. But I do want to let you know that at our second meeting in October, I think it's the 27th of October, we will be having a presentation by Mr. Hopkins and Pannoni Engineering for PennDOT on the Center Square traffic plan. We would like to make sure we publicized that a lot to get a lot of people there. It has a May 2021 let. So that's one of the things that public improvements for next year is a definite. It's going to be let in May 2021. It'll be at least a year under construction. So we anticipate disruption in the city, down at least our center city.
Mayor,
So,
you said that would be the second meeting in October?
Yes, that's the second meeting in October.
Okay.
That is correct. So at this, if there's any questions from city council or comments before I open it up to the public.
Mayor, I'm going to offer comment on some of your comments you made directly towards me in your budget presentation. Obviously, it's always unfortunate that you feel the need to call me out for objecting to legislation. However, I did have reasons for it. None of
We all
which
had
are
reasons
relevant.
for it. We've
What's
all
that?
had reasons for it, Mr. Milan.
Well, but you don't have to call me out though. But regardless, I mean, I get it. You want to call me out, that's fine. It's fine. Mayor, I don't want to debate it. That's fine. You did it. You made your point. I get it. But let's be very
Thankfully,
frank
not
about.
3 other people didn't join you.
Well, that's their business though. But
Well,
you
well,
hold
I'm saying-
grudges. You want to hold grudges against me because
I have
Well, you
no
do.
grudge against you. It was a
Well-
political move. I understand that.
Actually, it's not, because I'm not the one promising parking garages to developers. So had you kept the $15 million parking garage,
Excuse me,
I would
Mr.
have voted for
Milan.
it.
We make $1.5 million on parking. Do you want to stop doing that?
Mayor, conservative fiscally budgeting for next year would have been the prudent task to go off of next year. You guys decided you wanted to, that's your business. You got your votes. That's fine. I don't agree with that. There's issues with the budget. This budget you just presented to me, frankly, has many, many, many gaps in it.
Of course it does. We admit that.
But for some reason, every time you guys come to council, there's some variance from the last month. Just from July to August, you guys dropped the budget by $1.5 million without communicating one change to the council. I don't understand this. But so if you want my plan, you want to hear my plan on how to resolve this, clean up your data. Sit down with your team and clean this data up. And then we can have very fruitful and productive discussions. Because frankly, I don't know how we can budget off of the data that you present to us every month. Secondly, regarding the fire department overtime, you know how to resolve that? Had your administration followed the CBA, we maybe not have had an $800,000 increase in overtime last year. But your fire chief that you promoted openly admitted that he was not going to follow the CBA for part-timers. So
Exactly. And we're still not sure we're going to do part-timers. All we wanted was the ability to explore that option.
well, but it's in the CBA, Mayor. So you guys chose not to follow it, and that's why we have a $1.3 million overtime.
That is
budget
not
for
the
20
reason.
Well,
That's
then what
not
is
the
it
reason. There's a number of reasons, and we can address that for you. I'm not going to address it tonight during the budget
That's
message,
fine.
but I'll be more than happy. But I will be excited to see since you're talking about all this information that you think is wrong, I would like to see your data and your budget.
It's your data, Mayor. I'm just calculating it. It's your data. It's not my data.
What would you have done had you been in my seat
Mayor, I'm not answering
to
that.
eliminate a $2.3 million shortfall this year? What would you have done?
Mayor, is it 2.3 or is it $5 million? Because you keep flopping between 2.3
No,
and
we
$5
took
million.
care of no, I said there was a $5.5 million gap.
Well, what's it?
There's a $2.6 million payment that's due for debt that will be part of the total.
Okay.
So that $2.6 million is not taken care of. So if we didn't do the scoop and toss, as you said we shouldn't, what do we do with that $2.6 million? Where do you balance this budget?
Mayor, quite frankly, if I had accurate data, I could answer that question for you.
Oh.
That's the reality. We don't have accurate data.
Can I call point of order, please?
Every month we question data, and it's not getting resolved. So I mean, quite frankly, just between July and August, the budget it dropped by $1.5 million. 450 line items got changed between July and August. Not one change was communicated to council. If you want to have the discussion, we can too. But the reality is, we're not getting accurate data. When you want to show accurate data, we can have a discussion then. So
are you saying our staff isn't doing the data properly? Is that what
I don't
you're
know.
saying?
You guys are moving money around and nothing's getting communicated to council. That's a fact. I don't know who's moving money around. You guys are moving money around and nothing's being communicated to council. We don't know where the money's going and where it's coming from. Every time we ask a question, it's like it's never answered. And we have a month where The budget dropped by $1.5 million, and there was not one piece of legislation introduced to show us where that came from. I don't get it.
Mayor, we can present that to you. Any change has been presented to council, and including a complete revised budget, which council adopted via ordinance.
Well,
we can
that's
certainly- we can
that's
certainly
actually not
go
accurate.
online,
You just changed
with
it last.
Mr.
You just
Malone.
changed 2 weeks ago.
I
You changed it 2 weeks ago.
It's somewhat, I mean, I just don't think it's, I'm somewhat incredulous to the comment, because I know that the council has been involved in every step of the way when budgets have been presented and updated. There may be some misunderstandings, which we've tried to clarify to individual council members, i.e. yourself, Mr. Milan, or anyone else. Even Dr. Ruggles has brought up some
Sure.
issues to our attention. But we certainly will address that, because we've addressed any changes per the charter, including making a complete rehaul, which was presented to council.
And not to say, Mr. Lewis, that one of the things that we worked on very diligently to have an open conversation is that we had updates bi-weekly. And that was done primarily as we go through this budget to make sure that everybody understands that it's a moving budget and the target's constantly moving, even to the point that when we're going in right now, we're going to continue to see changes up until the point that council makes the final vote on it.
So is it your point, Mr. Brown, that you don't want to, we shouldn't have followed a charter then when we move money around like we're supposed to?
No,
Is that your
I'm
point?
saying that we all have an opportunity to bring that to the attention to Mr. Campos, the mayor, and or our finance department to get the answers that we need. Just as well Mr. Dr. Ruggles does on a normal basis. I know that he calls in, as do
Right.
I, when I'm not understanding
Right.
where that money is moving around.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Brown, we've addressed already in detail, and so has the solicitor, departmental transfers, which are legal to do by the administration versus in between transfers between departments and also between funds. To say that this is occurring without council knowing is somewhat misleading. We will definitely bring into detail anything that's in question, again, to city council. Quite
Well,
frankly,
apparently Councilmember Milan has some idea of where this is. He should present to us his report.
the
problem.
reason
Is
why
that ready to go?
the reason why we're meeting every single week and bringing reports to council is because of the request of Mr. Milan.
Right. So Lewis, between July and August, you guys changed the budget, right?
You approved a budget that we changed. That's correct.
And then 2 weeks ago, you gave us another file with a different number then, correct?
Revenues
with a
and
revised
expenses, revenues and expenses continue to change, Peter. It's not a
Right.
static process here.
Right, Lewis, but that's the point though. You guys are changing things and you're basically just changing things.
Are you
You
saying
need
that
leg-
as we're booking revenue and the revenue line item is adjusted, that's a change in the budget?
If you change the budget or you move money around, yes. That's what the charter says.
Within a department, we had our legal advice given to us that within a department, we're allowed to
Right.
move money from one line item to another.
Right, we know you spoke to the attorneys, but regardless, how do we know where the money's coming from? How does council know?
Peter, we also provide updates as per the charter, and
okay.
they're to be
That's fine.
provided timely.
Okay.
I find it that we're in probably a global crisis. The city is right now in turmoil financially,
Right.
and we're arguing about administrative details that could be explained to you on the side. I mean, right now it's a time of leadership, and we need council to support the administration. And if there's questions, we definitely will provide them to you. If there's questions on administration, on details on how operationally we can move
Okay.
funds from one end to the other.
Gotcha.
Anyone else? At this time, I'm going to open up to the public. If there's any person that would like to speak to the city council on these issues, please raise your hand.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Did we need to advise council of the dates that were picked for the budget sessions?
Yes, would you please send out you can send it out in an email to all of them
Okay.
with those dates so they can put it on their calendar.
Okay. I'll do that tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Dr. Ruggles.
You said that we're going to be at the second session in October, seeing the proposal for the circle. I assume then that we are going to start meeting again in chambers?
We're hoping to. We're working on a plan right now to open up chambers at the start of that meeting. It's going to require, Mr. Shear has sent us an email. We were going to open it up next week, but I think he brings up some really good points that he brought up about the planning commission meeting being open next week. And we need to address that. We need to get, the room only holds at 50%, we could be at 45, but we can't even get 45 in there with 6 foot social distancing. So we're working on having people actually be in the lobbies of the first and second floor watching the television. If they want to speak, then they can come up, and we'll have to have a staff person there to bring them there. We also are going to have to do temperature checks, questionnaires. So we're going to need to put some staff in here. So it's going to take us a little while, but hopefully by the middle of October, we will be back in chambers.
Okay.
Some like we did for our special meeting a couple weeks ago, some council members, city councils like Allentown are meeting in person as council, but the public has to Zoom in. So everybody's doing everything we've learned is that every city's doing something different. For example, Bethlehem zoning board, they make their deliberations the same night. Our zoning board solicitor says they can't do that according to the act. They got to give somebody an opportunity to come in. So they meet on a Monday. Then the following week is Wednesday just for deliberations, to give people that period of time to make their decision or ask any questions they want to ask. I still see no one from the public. So at this time, I'd like to thank City Council for your cooperation tonight and listening and providing time. And we'll always be available. If there's any questions, please don't hesitate to send them to us and you will get an answer. Thank you all. Have a great
Mayor,
night.
are we going
Yeah,
to adjourn? We have to adjourn the meeting,
Thank
Mayor,
you.
because we took a roll
Thank
call.
you.
Oh, okay.
I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Roger and
This
Dave.
is Councilman O'Connell.
Okay. Dr. Ruggers, you made the motion. Mr. O'Connell, you seconded it. So
Any
the
other
vote,
discussion?
Okay.
Roll call.
Mr. O'Connell? Mr. O'Connell? Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano? Mrs. Volcano? Aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
I did say Mayor Panto, didn't I?
No. Aye.
Mayor Panto, I'm
Aye.
sorry.
Thank you all.